Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Wednesday, April the 9th, 2025. Well, Sidwell and Marco, I wanted to say we're up to something, but I really believe it was Sidwell pretty much waiting for Natalia to come in because he really didn't approach anyone. Yes, he did. Laura was having lunch slash dinner with Curtis. So Sidwell goes up and he, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. And Laura says, well, but you are, you know? And he's like, I have been calling and calling to make an appointment with you. And I cannot seem to get one from your assistant. So Laura says, if my assistant won't give you an appointment, that means I don't want to see you. Whoa, go ahead, Laura. He says, well, it's a mutually beneficial um, meeting, and I hope you change your mind soon. She looks at him. If I do, you'll hear from me, right? So Curtis is telling her that councilman, whatever his name is, he's out for her. She's saying he wants Aurora to do this expose on how she, is favoring her mob boss friend Sonny Corinthos. And Curtis is like, I'm trying to hold him off, but I can only do so much. And I wanted to say, no, no, that's not true. Because Aurora doesn't cover stories like that. Councilman, whatever his name is, needs to go to the invader because the invader would happily run an article with unsubstantiated facts, right? And so Laura told him, she says, look, I have never tried to hide my relationship with Sonny Corinthos. It goes back decades, way before I became mayor. And if I now, she goes, and I'm not about to distance myself from Sonny because somebody else tells me to, because somebody else has something in it for himself. So, no. And he goes, okay, Laura, you just need to tread more lightly because he's trying to call for, maybe to oust you from being mayor. She's like, okay. And if the citizens of Port Charles no longer want me as mayor, they will vote me out. She says, but until then, I will not be a liar. Because if I lie and say I'm no longer friends with Sonny, but yet, see him in private, I'd be lying. And I'm not about to do that. So Curtis says, you know what, Laura? I think I have another solution, a better solution. Because Sidwell's main, or not Sidwell, Councilman, whatever his name is, um, his thing is okay. Somebody's already blown up Sonny Corinthos's um a penthouse. What's to prevent them from blowing up the piers? You know, and if they, well, see, Laura should have said, okay, all the more reason for us to just stay away from the pier because where we're building it now, the original site has nothing to do with Sonny Corinthos. That's what the writer should have had her say. Seriously, that promenade or that project does not have to be lining no pier front. Seriously, people are not gonna be motorboating it up there to go shopping, right? It doesn't have to be along the pier. So, anyway, Curtis says, I got a better idea. Put it up for a vote, Laura. If the citizens of Port Charles want to have it at the pier and seize it, the property with eminent domain, or the original site. And Laura looked at it, she thought, hmm. But what my fear is that councilman and Drew are going to make it an attack against Sonny. That we need to, get rid of this alleged mob boss. She says, that's my fear, where I know they're going to take this. And so Curtis says, but that takes the decision out of your hands, Laura. You can't control how they're going to slant it and how they're going to take it. Because he's already, with the article, what with the press he wants to bring, is already saying that you're favoring a mob boss. So she's going to think about it, and I think she's going to end up going with that. And when I thought about it, I said, that's pretty fair. That's actually pretty doggone fair. So now we have, remember I said Sidwell and Marco were in the lobby of the Metro Court. Well, after Laura turns him down, he's getting ready to leave. So he kind of almost bumps into Natalia. He goes, oh, excuse me. And he looked up and he saw it was her. Because when he said, excuse me, she was like, okay. And then she looked up and saw it was him. And so Sidwell whispered to her, and he told her, try to have, what did she say? Oh, he said, try to show some tact. And she just looked at him like, shh, don't tell me how to talk to my son. So she gets to the table, everybody, and sure as heck, somebody needed to tell her how to talk to her son, because Natalia went in on what a waste of talent. And Marco looked at her. She goes, you could have been a star. And he's like, and yet I am a excellent attorney. And he looked at her. He says, see, I have been an attorney, mommy, for 10 years now. He said, some things never change, and that's you. He said, I quit music for a reason. You could not accept the fact that I was gay. And she goes, no, it's your choices, it's your personal choice. See, and I thought, oh my goodness, you haven't learned a thing with what you did to Allie, right? And he says, I no longer wanted to be a musician. Okay. I no longer wanted to hide my authentic self. I am doing what I want to do. And see, this conversation we're having here is why I stayed away for so long. See, it's this, because you haven't changed. I have changed. I've learned a lot. He goes, no, you haven't. He says, the things you said about Allie publicly, that was all over the internet, you haven't learned. I've learned, since that incident. He says, really? How's Allie doing? She's having a successful tour. But he goes, no, no, no. When was the last time you actually talked to her? She says, well, she's very, very busy, like I said. She's busy touring, and I respect that. I understand that. He says, oh, okay. So that means she's cut all ties with you too. And she goes, You know, no, your father got into your head and told you he wanted you to be an attorney. And you did this just to please your father so that you could do his lapdog bidding or minion bidding. And Marco looked at her and he says, what I do for my clients is what I do for my clients. And I do it very well. He he says, but I'm gonna tell you something. Uh I don't know if he called him Poppy, did not force me to become a lawyer. He supported all my decisions and still does. He doesn't look down on me or try to shame me the way you do. I don't do that. She goes, yeah, yes, yes, you do. you know, and he pretty much told her, okay, you know what? This conversation is going nowhere and it's over. So he gets up and he walks away. Now, Sonny is having dinner on the terrace with Christina, and she said, Dad, we need to invite Dante. And Sonny says, oh, well, okay, but I thought you wanted it to be a dinner between you and I. And she says, no, we need to invite Dante because you need to tell him about your heart condition, Dad. You need to tell him before it's too late. And he looked at her. So Dante walked in on Brooklyn and Lois made up some stupid story about who's selling the house, it being put in a assisted living home, and who bought their house. And so Dante's like, okay, okay, good to hear. Because Brooklyn says, good, Dante, I wanted to speak to you about something. And Olivia stands up, I mean, not Olivia, Lois stands up and blurts this information. And Dante looked at her like, well, okay, that's good. But Brooklyn, somehow I don't think that's what you wanted to tell me. She goes, no, but uh, he goes, you know what? I'm actually on my way out to meet Christina and my dad. Can we get together later, Brooklyn? And she says, yes. And so, of course, and Lois says, give Sonny and Christina my best. Right. And BLQ said, tell Uncle Sonny and Christina I said hi. So he leaves and he goes there and they tell him. And Dante's like, why didn't you tell me? He said, well, I didn't want my enemies to, get this information to use against me. So Dante's like, then why are you telling me now? Not that I'm your enemy, but he goes, what changed? He says, well, Ava knows. And he tells about the situation with the pills and everything. He said, so, I want to make sure you know, right? Because Ava's gonna try to use this. And Sonny says, my surgery is scheduled for a month from now. There we go, Sonny. We're supposed to have been within 2 weeks. A month from now, you're going to be no closer to anything except for, but within a month, he would have had a full-fledged heart attack. Absolutely, positively, right? So we have, let's switch gears to Alexis and Ava. And she goes, Ava, for one thing, I don't discuss my daughter Christina's future with you. And so Ava says, well, you know what, Alexis? Yeah, I think you're going to want to discuss her future when you see this. And she's like, see what? So she takes the video out and it shows Christina upset coming down to the garage, shows her going over to the tools, shows her getting wire cutters, shows her walking to the front of Ava's car. That's why they don't show Christina doing it, but they show her going up to the car with the wire cutters in her hand. The camera just doesn't show that part. It cuts the car off, that part of the car off. So Ava said, she goes, oh yeah, she showed up at my house, much like the incident before, all crazed and deranged. And Rick was there. She threatened me. Once again, it's over her father's custody. And, well, you know what happened to Rick and Elizabeth. So I did some digging. And so Alexis says, well, here's the thing, that's circumstantial. That video does not show Christina cutting the brakes. So you only have circumstantial evidence. And Ava says, yeah, but what did happen is Rick and Elizabeth got into an accident. What else? She goes, well, where's the car? See, are the brakes cut in the car? So Ava says, the car has been moved to a secure location, which is a lie. That car was crushed, right? But she's not going to give up that. So Alexis says, oh, good, good. Because that means you could have easily tampered with the evidence. You could have easily cut those brakes. She goes, well, I'm wondering what will the police find? I could give them all this. They could do their investigation. And Ava said, yeah, go ahead. You absolutely sure can do that. You just see how far you get with that. So Ava says, yeah, but you want to know who's gonna believe it? Is your daughter Molly. And Alexis kind of looks. She goes, what is Molly gonna think? That once again her unhinged sister hurt someone, and this time it's her dad. And Alexis just looks at her. She says, I'm sure this is obviously about money. Let's hear it. She goes, ooh, it's about millions. She says, millions from the Cassadine Trust, the estate. So Ava says, well, for one thing, that means you're asking me to embezzle money from the trust? She says, and that's illegal. I'm not going to do that. And I personally don't have millions. So Ava said, oh, oh, you know what, Alexis? She goes, that could not be easily done. And she goes, oh, I believe it. I believe it can't easily be done. But I also believe you could do it. So Alexis says, no, I'm not doing that. She goes, well, okay. But you're right. I'm not going to go to the police. I'm getting ready to go straight to Molly and show her what I have. She says, I'm going to give you till 9 a.m. tomorrow to come up with your decision. And if you don't contact me by 9 a.m., I'm absolutely going to Mom. And Alexis just looked at her. She was poker faced the whole time, right? And I thought, oh, kudos to you, Alexis. Poker face it. But Ava was just as confident because she's got all the cards, right? So she walks out, and I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna go to Sonny too. If Alexis wouldn't play ball, Ava is gonna tell Molly just to spite Alexis. And Rick wants Molly to know the kind of person her sister is anyway. But then she would go to Sonny. She would go to Sonny, right? Except if she goes to Molly, Molly's going to want Christina prosecuted. She really couldn't then go to Sonny because Christina would already be in trouble. She would have to try to blackmail Sonny first and then go to Molly, right? That's what she'd have to do. And she would have to blackmail Sonny, and Sonny will tell her, oh, you're going to just give me the copy and destroy it, right? He's going to destroy it. But what he would do once she showed her hands, this is footage from the building she lives in. Spinelli or Brick can hack into that and erase that so fast it's not even funny. And actually, they can access the wrecking yard and find out that car was crushed. It wasn't moved. So that could easily happen. What else happened? We have what I fast forwarded the whole conversations as they cut in and out was Lulu talking to Cody. I could care less about what Lulu has to say. Can care less. So, any of you comment corner wonderful commenters, if you like Lulu, you like their scene, please put in the comments a summary of what the conversation between Lulu and Cody was all about. Because, right now, Marco shows up at the hospital, and Lucas was getting a little antsy or upset because Marco didn't reply to his text. Were they on tonight? Lucas is supposed to be showing him the city. So Marcus came. He goes, I was in the middle of something. But yes, if you are free, I would love for you to show me the city because, a job offer is coming. So Lucas says, well, shouldn't we wait? We don't want to jinx it. And Marco said, after the day I had, oh no, there ain't no waiting, you know. So they're going to go out. Now, once again, Isaiah, just a quick little mention, he made lunch for Jordan and she was loving it. He once again, how long do we have to keep this a secret? Are you finally, you know, I just want to know. She goes, a little while, I mean, longer. I haven't gotten exactly what I needed yet. And so he's like, she goes, are you saying you can't continue this relationship like this? And he goes, no, I'm just saying how long because I'm proud to be seen with you in public. She goes, and I understand that, but right now, no. So she goes, and speak of the Sidwell text her saying, can we meet? Why Jordan let him come to her place, I don't know. As if Sidwell couldn't get her information anyway. Let's be real. As if Sidwell's men wouldn't see Isaiah in and out of there. But anyway, he meets her there. He's talking. He wants her to stop being the deputy mayor and come and work for him, being his liaison, being his advocate for his projects. Oh, he's going to pay her so handsomely because she goes, he's like, nice, quaint little apartment. She goes, yeah, it's small, but it has all the space I need. And he goes, I can understand being on an elected official's salary. I know it's not much, but that's why I'm here. I'm going to make you an offer to change that. So he lays it out and she goes, you know, thank you for considering me, but I have absolutely no plans in leaving the mayor's office. So I'm going to have to turn you down, say no. And he goes, oh, well, he's so funny. If things change, you know where to find me. She goes, yes, I do. So she calls Isaiah. She goes, Sidwell's gone. And he goes, okay. Um, she goes, he offered me a job. And Isaiah said, please tell me you turned him down. Nope. And Jordan is smiling. And Isaiah's just looking like, oh. So Jordan said, I'm just messing with you. Of course, I told him I wasn't leaving the mayor's office to come work for him. So Isaiah says, oh, good, good. That means, you're finally, you're done with investigating him, right? And she says, are you kidding? I have Sidwell right where I want him. And Isaiah's just looking, and I'm thinking, see, if every time we talk, you got to bring up me not doing what I told you I'm going to do, we don't need to talk. Seriously, I'm getting sick of him suggesting she not, even though it is much more dangerous than Jordan could imagine. But I'm done with it. I'm tired of it. Right? That's it, everybody. That is it. For the daily recap, I'm getting ready to start my trusty dusty stopwatch and pull up comment corner. And today we're going to go from the bottom up, bottoms up. The first comment is from Black Purple Turquoise. I didn't like either Ava, or I don't like either Ava or Christina. Both women eventually need to get their comeuppance courtesy of karma. And honestly, I'm ready for this whole storyline, Christina versus Ava, to be a wrap. Me too, right? Me too. Let's move on to something else. Nevertheless, I will say her going to uh, Alexis right as it went off today to blackmail Alexis with the fact that Christina cut Rick's brake lines of his car, thinking it was hers uh, for some money, was no surprise to me. No, it wasn't. We knew it. She has been looking for a large payday she could rake in any given moment anyways lately. And then Melody says, cha-ching for Ava. See, which is another thing about blackmailers. They're never done. And it's the same with Ava. They're never done. They will always come back and ask for more. And Deborah says Lulu needs to move far, far away. I'm with you on that. DB says, or back to sleep. Lisa says she could take Christina with her. Both are on my last nerves. I'm with you too. And then Aisha says, I'm glad that Michael isn't around, having to deal with even more Christina nonsense. And then we have Aisha says, Carlos Rivera was the one who fatally shot Duke Lavery on Julian Jerome's orders back in May 2015. Anna confronted him to confronted and shot the hitman, but Carlos survived, only to die when he went to his boss for help, and Julian stabbed him instead. Carlos was also Sabrina Santiago's ex. Oh, I remember him now when you said Sabrina Santiago's ex-boyfriend and the actual father of her baby that she was trying to pass off as Michael's. Melody says, wow, I forgot most of that. Me too. But when you mentioned it, um, Aisha, I brought it right back to my memory. See, that's what Comment Corner is all about. That's exactly what it's all about. And Melody says, I do remember Carlos hunting and taunting Anna. Uh, wasn't that him? And Aisha says to Melody, yes, you're right. That was Carlos. And then Alicia says, right, Julian killed Carlos. Alicia says, Ava had better watch out. Rick, too. I remember that. And what eventually happened when Sabrina was murdered by that serial killer, who was that? They killed Sabrina. Her baby was sent back to where she came from. I think Puerto Rico is where she may have come. I forget where Santiago for Sabrina came from. But her baby was sent back there to be raised by her family. And now we have P. Merle. Oh, I forgot to start my stopwatch. P. Merle says Ava was all but giddy. I'm not sure Alexis can access those funds without being charged with embezzlement. Exactly. I hope she commits Christina and countercharges Ava with extortion. I'd hate to see Ava win when she has caused so much mayhem in the Corinthos/Davis family. That's a good out. Have Christina committed. Tell on your own damn doggone. Oops. You know, daily recap lady don't curse on here. Uh, Yeah, tell on your own darn daughter. And then Latrice says, exactly. I knew that Ava was going to use the video of Christina to blackmail Alexis into giving her some of the money from the Cassadine estate. I wouldn't be surprised if she does also try to use the evidence to get full custody of Ava, especially Ava Reed, especially if Alexis doesn't give her the money. I really hope that Alexis doesn't give her the money and she uses this opportunity to get Christina help that she so desperately needs, because going down the road of covering for her again is not going to help her at all, as she is all over the place and needs to be held accountable for her actions. That is so true. Great, great comment. I'm going to skip on down to Melody. Melody says, well, then Ava and Alexis better go to Sonny together. Well, not together, but Alexis would call him up and say, this is what's going on. Melody says to Latrice, yes, maybe Christina is bipolar. I think that Ava doesn't demand, I think even Ava doesn't demand Christina get help. Yes, she has constantly. I would hope Sonny and Alexis get her help regardless. Ava's already said you need to get that delusional daughter of yours committed. Now, remember the conversation Molly had when she told Molly, it is so nice having my mom. And Alexis says, I know, because usually she goes, like when we lost the baby, or no, when we lost Sam, Christina needed help too, and you give her more of your attention. I have to admit, it feels good having my mom. Okay, let's see what Alexis does with that, because she does need to turn Christina in to show Molly that she matters, and turn Christina in to get psychiatric help. Work with Diane on that, right? This way, you're trying to help your daughter for the future. Christina will go unhinged again and again unless she gets help. P. Merrill says, so Lulu quit her assistant job at Deception, but what does she do all day? And just how is she planning to get a place for her kids? You'd think she'd have more important things to do than getting all in Dante and BLQ's teenage hookup. I know. I'm sure BLQ would be happy knowing Dante doesn't really care about her, or didn't really care about her back then. Melody says, yeah, how can Lulu move out uh, to her own place and take care of her kids when uh, will she be will she be the one being interviewed by Sidwell? Ooh, that would be interesting. I don't think so. And do what? LOL. Nah, I don't think she'd go with Sidwell. And then Latrice says, daily recap lady Valerie, that was her name. Valerie was Carly and Lulu's cousin who slept with Dante. Yes, the name was Valerie. Thank you, Latrice. Once again, that's what Comment Corner is all about. And then Melody says, yep, why doesn't Lulu harp on that? And then Lisa says, oh, I remember her. Lulu should be mad at her. She was in Brooklyn. She was with Brooklyn. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. She holds this grudge with Brooklyn, but not her cousin. Lulu has issues big time. Lulu has always had issues big time. Read one more set of comments. This is from Sewing Room. Go, Ava. Get all the Cassadine money back. That's a good plan. I love Ava's mind. And then Melody says, for a bad girl, Ava is delicious. And Melody says, when Lucky asked about Rick's car in the lot, but the guy said uh, he didn't, it accounted for. What? No. He says, so it must have been crushed. Well, if he says I can't, it's not accounting. I thought he said for sure it was crushed. I think Ava got it for evidence, just saying. If that's what the guy said, and I wasn't listening word for word, then Ava does have that car. She ain't stupid. And Melody says, Rick could have called and said, "Look, I'm having my car moved." Melody says, Alexis already went to jail over the gun Christina took from Sonny. Also, Sam had gone to jail because of Christina and the Shiloh fiasco after Sam killed Shiloh. I know everything regarding Sam. I mean, Christina. She is a human natural disaster. Now, one thing I want to say, when cars are in an accident, since when is it up to the tow yard where the cars are towed to? Since when is it up to them to determine they're just gonna crush a car? They don't own that car. Bottom line, the owner of the car needs their car, especially if they're gonna file an insurance claim. The insurance adjuster has to come out and take all kind of pictures. Oh, it's set to be crushed. No, it ain't set to be crushed. What? Now, how do I have evidence so my insurance company will know the car was totaled? Oh my goodness, that was ridiculously a stupid plotting thing to say because that's not how that works. That's not how it works at all. Now, cars that are not claimed and unaccounted for a period of time, yes, but the owners can do whatever they want with that car and pay the nice, hefty impound fee. And for every day it's there, something like $500 a day, right? So that was just one hole in what the writers wrote that just doesn't happen like that, right? So, all right, everybody, that's it. That's it for today's daily recap. I will be back tomorrow for another daily recap of General Hospital.